What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here. And it's imperative that we don't just get our news from America. Most of the people who watch are in the USA, and a few of you aren't. But it is imperative that those of you who aren't know exactly how we do it here. We're in a silo. I want to break that. The whole point of having the team that I have from the UK, from Canada, from the South American regions, even people from Australia and other parts of the EU. Reason why we have it is so that we can have bigger and better perspectives than just what's here. In these type of times, when dictators come around, the first thing they do is try to close off all information from everywhere else. So I want to make sure that I'm sticking to my guns. Now, I'm tired. I am. We were up live all night. I'm also not feeling so well, but that doesn't have anything to do with it because my team has been working hard to put together to gather up different sources from around the world and what's happening and their response to this atrocity done by our president. So I decided the best way to do it is just live. I don't have to do any editing afterwards. I can get my rest after this. And I'm just going to go through each and every one of these sources that they sent me. We're just going to see what the world is saying. But for me, the worst part is what they're not saying. Right here. Right here. Starmer. I'm just going to let you hear what he has to say. But for me, I think we have to start with what the UK, the United Kingdom, is not saying and not doing. And just so you understand how weak sauce it is, and it's not just something that we're missing. This is something that was also said by our correspondents over there, and their absolute disdain at what's going on, at the lack of chutzpah by the UK. Let's take a listen to what Starmer has to say here. It's disappointing.
The White House has said that they captured Maduro and they struck his country. There's a lot we don't know, but we do know that. So will you condemn that action against the sovereign states?
Well, I want to get all the material facts together, and we simply haven't got the full picture at the moment. It's fast moving, and we need to piece that together. I can be really clear.
It doesn't sound like it's loud enough.
UK
you guys let me know if it's loud enough. Let's see if I can do something about that. I guess not. I'll try it again. I'll turn it up. You guys let me know if you can hear it.
The White House has said that they captured Maduro and they struck his country. So there's a lot we don't know, but we do know that. So will you condemn that action against the sovereign states?
Well, I want to get all the material facts together, and we simply haven't got the full picture at the moment. It's fast moving, and we need to piece that together. I can be really clear with you that there was no UK involvement in this operation. And obviously, we're working in relation to British citizens and nationals who are there with our embassy. But we need to establish a full picture. I then need to speak to President Trump. I need to speak to our allies. But I don't shy away from this. I've been a lifelong advocate of international law and the importance of compliance with international law. But I want to ensure that I've got all the facts at my disposal, and we haven't got that at the moment. And we need to get that before we come to a decision about the consequences in relation to the actions that have been taken.
I don't know. Everybody says, I've heard somebody say they can hear that. Allow me to tell you that is all 100% BS. That's all 100% BS. We're still trying to figure out the facts. This was his first response in realizing that America, the United States of America, who is on the Security Council in the UN, that means we have veto rights over other countries and what they can and can't do militarily and internationally. The one of the biggest countries on the Security Council in the UN has just invaded a sovereign country, picked up and absconded with their leader and his wife. And the UK's response is, well, I need to know all the facts. Not a condemnation. Not a this is not okay. Not a we stand with the UN. No. No. Their response is, we bow to Trump, just like the Republican Party and half of the Democratic Party. The response is, we're okay with authoritarianism. And if I may tell you why that's bad, it's because of the second story. Now, that is horrible and disgusting, what we just heard from the UK. With all of their military might and them doing it yet again. Yeah, I know it's my own country this time, but what he just did there is called appeasement. That's gross. I'm not saying you come out with major threats and act like a 5-year-old like Trump would, but you don't say, I need to know what the facts are, got to talk to Trump about it. He's the one who just did it. That is gross. And what that kind of appeasement will do is what we see here given to me by another one of our team who happens to not live in America, but has seen this by an American. Take a look at this. This is what you get with appeasement. Is it clear? Maybe I should make it bigger for you. Here. That's what you get. That's what you get with appeasement. The picture you see there is a post by this bimbo, Katie Miller. You know, the wife of Stephen Miller, the racist Nazi, who left him for Elon, the South African Nazi, only to come back to make a little bit more money off of dumb Americans. Allow me to show you what this is. That's a picture of Greenland. And that's her in big capital letters. Soon. This is what appeasement gets you. This is what not doing anything gets you. When a dictator, when a wannabe strongman finds that he can get away with invasion, absconding with, kidnapping leaders, and the response from the biggest players in the UN and the Security Council is, I need to know what Trump thinks about it. This is what you expect next. The praise and the anticipation while the mouth waters of the wolves who can't wait to go into Greenland. That's what Katie Miller has put out here with a giant smiley face. No, UK, no Starmer, that's the wrong plan. That's the wrong thing to say. That's the wrong way to go. Yeah. All right, now let me tell you, I'm trying to go quickly. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not feeling so well, but I've got to make sure that you're hearing what's going on around the world, not just in our backyard. Let's go. Well, I've got about 3 coming from I've got 3 coming from The Guardian. So let's go there first. First, the Venezuelan leader, the new leader, who's there temporarily because in order for it to be permanent, they have to have an election in 30 days in order to state, from what I can read out. Matter of fact, I will just read it to you so I'm not going crazy. Venezuela's Supreme Court, late on Saturday, ordered the Vice President Delcy Rodriguez to become the country's interim leader after the U.S. seized President Nicolas Maduro and whisked him out of the country. According to multiple reports, the High Court ruled that Rodriguez assumed and exercised in an acting capacity all the attributes, duties, and powers inherent to the office of president to guarantee administrative continuity and the comprehensive defense of the nation. Here's the next important part, people. The judges stopped short of declaring Maduro permanently absent from the office, because that's a ruling that requires holding election within 30 days. And I understand what that means. To make that ruling means that you are now actually actively going to have to pick another president and turn what was done to a legal capacity. Right? Now, it doesn't mean that you can't fight back, but it just means that, you've got nowhere else to go. And I wouldn't want to make that. Ruling either. But yeah, so it has been given to the vice president and everything else except for the word president. She is the acting president. That's who in charge, not Trump. Because you may have seen this. Trump, on the other hand, he believes. Oh man, I just had it here. Let me get it back. I apologize. A long one. Well, Trump believes that he can just go in there and we're in charge. He's just going to run it. Thankfully, let's see, is this one it? Yeah. Thank you for that. Watch this, guys. If you've seen it before. Oh no, that's for Cuba. Well, I can't find it, but Trump said basically, not basically, in the words he used was, we're going to run it. We're just going to run it. That's what he said. We're going to run the country. As if that's how any of this works. As if that's how any of this works. So it's a good thing to know that the Venezuelans have a way out and that they have an actual leader in place. And it's not just factions that can come together to try to take over in the void. But let's see if I can show this to you. I got 2 more Guardian pieces we got to get to. And then we're going on to the rest of the world. We got a lot.
Venezuela's exiled opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. Maduro's seizure was said to be part of a painstakingly planned attack, which saw a number of explosions across Caracas overnight. Well, it's not immediately clear whether the U.S. running Venezuela and its oil reserves. At his press conference a short time ago in Florida, here is some of what he did say.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So
what does that even mean?
We don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious. Because that's what we're all about.
That's what we're about.
We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela. And that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind.
You mean the good of your oil
Had
in mind?
decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it essentially until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust.
Everybody knows
for a
this?
long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping
Who the hell are we?
and what
to tell
could
them
have
how
taken
much
place.
to pump?
We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country.
He means making money for himself and his son, who is now also a part of Vulcan Elements, who just received $750 million from the government, this government, to get rare earth minerals. And I have 100% in my mind. I am saying I believe the reason why he got that, even though the company is literally 5 months old, not 5 years, 5 months old, just to receive a loan from the government for $750 million. A company that gets rare earth minerals. So no wonder Trump says now he's going to run Venezuela without a Congress. The war itself that we're in was done without our Congress. But how do you run a country? By dictating from 1,000 miles away. Who's the governors? Who are the senators? Congress people. Who's in charge? Who's paying them? What do you mean run it? You can't even run this country. He's a 5-year-old playing checkers. And like most colonialists, he doesn't see these people as human beings. This is just barren land with animals on it. In his own words, we're just gonna run it. Hey Michelle, hey Gypsy, hey Eleanor, hey Dot Louie. Thank you guys so much for being here. There's a lot to get to. I'm going to do my best. Matter of fact, I'll put all your comments on here so everybody can see each other. I'm going to do my best to go one at a time through everything. Not feeling too good, but I owe it to you guys and I owe it to the people who gave me these things. So that's what's going on. The real person who's running it is the vice president, as I showed you before. Now, last piece. This is the last piece from, and her name, by the way, sorry, Delcy Rodriguez is the vice president of Venezuela, who is taking on, for all intents and purposes, the duties of presidency. So she's running it, not Trump, and not Shell Oil, not American oil companies. They still have no right there. Everything being done right now is illegal. Let's get to the last piece of news here. From The Guardian, excuse me, not the last piece for good. Global outcry after U.S. launches strikes on Venezuela and captures the president. France, Russia, China, and the EU say Washington broke international law after the U.S. troops carried out the operation. You know who didn't say it? The United Kingdom. But we already went there. So yeah, their silence is going to allow the same thing to happen in Greenland if we're not careful. But these countries so far have said, no, we can't do this. Let's read a little bit and we'll move on to the next one. The U.S. has been condemned for breaking international law after it launched airstrikes on the Venezuelan capital and captured its president, kidnapped him and his wife. France, Spain, Brazil, Russia, China, and the European Commission were among those who said Donald Trump had broke international rules after U.S. troops carried out the operation on Saturday morning. The move came amid 6 months of escalating tensions. He was hoping that they would respond in such a way he could have an excuse to do this. But they didn't give him that excuse. So he just broke the law instead. Let's go here. The U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said the deposed Venezuelan leader and his wife, Celia Flores, would face criminal charges in New York, a little bit outside your jurisdiction, fam, which the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said would relate to the drug trade. There you have it. And there you have it. That's the response from those countries, but not the UK. Those countries, but not the UK, at least did the minimum. What will the UN actually do? We don't know yet. What we do know is that Cuba has tried to call an emergency meeting. So I'd like to go to what the Cuban president is saying. What the Cuban president is saying. There we go. All right, guys, this is from AP News. Like I said, we're going around the world. We have to get our news from around the world. We cannot stay in America and believe that we're getting the full story. We have been compromised. Our news has been compromised. But anyway, let's listen to the Cuban president, what he had to say. And I'm sorry it's taking so long. I'm doing it by myself here. But here we go. I don't know if you guys can hear that. In case you can't hear it, I will read it. Cuba condemns and denounces the actions as an act of state terrorism. A criminal assault against our America, which is a zone of peace. And a violation of the sovereignty of a nation that is a symbol of independence. The United States is responsible before the world for Maduro's physical integrity. And these are the pictures. That's all we got from the AP. I'm sure he said more than that. I'd like to hear more. Thanks, AP. But this is what the Cuban president said. America is responsible for the safety of Maduro and his wife. He called it an act of terrorism. Those are strong words. Again, when Cuba calls for for the UN to come together, emergency gathering, and he uses the words terrorism, that makes the ball rolling for certain things. That word is on purpose. Let me tell you why it's so important. Let me tell you why he's using those words. This is going to shock you, people. Again, from the AP, I want you to see this for yourself so you know I'm not just talking it out my ass, is lying here. Watch this and realize why the Cuban president used such strong words like terrorism. That's correct. Article 13 prohibits photos of prisoners, but we have a prisoner. We have Maduro frog walking with his hands behind his back. I'll show you that next after this most important speech here.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Is a message for Cuba and U.S. Canal?
Well, Cuba's an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say,
Number one, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. I'm tired of people acting like just because he is a 5-year-old, that means that he's a joke. Unfortunately, we've given a 5-year-old orangutan the power of the presidency. Last night was the culmination of that mistake. And when he says, well, Cuba is something that we need to talk about. And while Mrs. Miller shows the red, white, and blue on Greenland, if you ever thought it was all just bluster and buffoonish talking, chest beating, now's your answer. It's not a joke. And if the UK and other countries stay on their knees and say that this is okay, that is the green light that a dictator, wannabe strongman, narcissist needs. They will be next.
Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems that Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba that tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government,
Now they just called Cuba the invader. Did you hear the turn of phrase? Did you hear the snake oil salesman, the forked tongue? In about 15 words, he has just taken the invasion away from the people who just stole the president away and bombed their cities and their military bases and gave the title to Cubans as the invaders. They're not safe. They're not safe in Cuba. They're not safe in Greenland.
Be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
So that's the next place that they're going to start the same foolishness they just did. Cuba will also be getting their tankers with sanctioned oil stopped trying to invoke a North and South American war. There's no other way to say it. There's no other way to say it. All right, I have more. I want to hear what France is showing on their TV. As a matter of fact, before we do that, it's important that you see the reason why I have that post. Article 13 prohibits photos of prisoners. Let me tell you what that's referring to. I have here yet another illegal move done by our president and his, I don't know what you call this, regime is the best way to put it, we're honest. Let's see these pictures. course, when I want them, I can't find them. Here we go. Let's see these pictures. From The Guardian. My goodness. Sorry, guys. That's what it's like when you got to try to do this by yourself. So, we had it from The Guardian. Pictures of Maduro being perp walked, right? Literally being perp walked with his hands behind his back. And worse. And the best one I could find is this, but it's not the worst. There's one where he's sitting down and they're moving him, what we call a frog walk, where he has to bend over while doing it. But this is what is being referred to down here by Michelle Duff. Article 13 prohibits photos of prisoners. And this is what they did to the president. Listen, we all can also, two things can be true at the same time. Maduro, I got no love for him. I think he's an illegitimate president. I think he faked an election. I think the evidence is overwhelming that he did so. I also think that if you're going to call him worthy of being invaded, then so should you do with North Korea, with Russia, and probably with us. So no, that's not a good enough reason. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't mean I love Venezuela, Venezuelan President Maduro. It means that rules are rules and sovereignty is sovereignty for a reason. They didn't invite us to come be the freedom fighters for them. What we did was stole their president away and just got done telling them that we don't believe in their rule of government. Because while the vice president is now given the authority of the president, our president says we're just going to run the country and bring our oil there, oil companies there. Yes, Chris. Everything is ours because we're colonial. Because brown people aren't real people; they're animals. That land there is for us. It's for the Christian white men of Europe and America to take. It's never stopped. The UN was the only thing. They were the only thing stopping that from just continuing. And now the Security Council, the biggest country in the Security Council, us, have become compromised. So that UN means about as much as the paper its charters are written on. Because you know who the other people in the Security Council are? Russia, China. Yeah. Yeah. That's us now. All right. I promised I would not get on soapboxes. We got a few more things to talk about from around the world. It's imperative that I get to all of them and not overemphasize just one. I want to hear what France has to say. Then we'll go to Al Jazeera.
Term personal, even the whole statement of the government. I think that every Venezuelan was surprised, even the military personnel, even the whole statement of the government. There's not one person in this country which could have been aware of what was going on. Even the response was kind of late for what was happening. Most of the electricity went down. Even cell phone carriers went down. So it was a very confusing situation at the moment, even for the government. And for Venezuelans, of course. The drug smuggling and trafficking allegation has been broadly covered by private investigations, by international and independent media. But since I am a journalist and I haven't seen the proof in my hands, and that, in fact,
that's what a journalist sounds like. ABC, CNN, NBC, Fox, Newsmax. That is what a journalist sounds like. It's called journalistic integrity. We just repeat what the orange man who's lied continuously said over and over. We even call the Kennedy Center the Trump Kennedy Center when it's illegal. It's not a new name. It takes an act of Congress. But we just say and repeat it. We call it the Department of War. That's illegal. It's the Department of Defense. It takes an act of Congress to change the name. But we just say and repeat and regurgitate what an orange liar, narcissistic maniac says. This is called journalism. I need the proof.
Maduro was smuggling drugs. I will be very conservative to say that, to assert that this is a fact. I mean, even the Americans are demanding to Trump to present the proof, because this operation was not a minor thing. This was a very expensive and a very dangerous operation, even for U.S. military personnel.
That was from France 24, English speaking. In English, France 24 English speaking channel. I want to take you to Al Jazeera so we can just take a read at what they got there. Take a look at some of these pictures. Make sure that we're getting the full picture from around the world and not just what's being told to us by these feckless journalists who bowed to our regime already. The world reacts to U.S. bombing of Venezuela, capture of Maduro. Donald Trump says the U.S. has carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and captured its president. Let's see what Colombia says. All right. On a statement on X, U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau said Venezuela was experiencing a new dawn. The tyrant is gone. He will now finally face justice for his crimes. While he's in America, he says this. How about this, though? In a statement shortly after the U.S. bombings, Maduro's government accused Washington of an extremely serious military aggression, and they're failing to use the word war because these people don't want to fight against the nuclear power with a madman on the button. That's not being weak. What they're doing is being not stupid. That's why they're not using the word war, in case you want to know why. Quote, Venezuela rejects, repudiates, and denounces before the international community the extremely serious military aggression perpetrated by the current government of the United States of America against Venezuelan territory and people. That's the official statement by the Venezuelan government. Let's look at what Colombia is saying. Quote, alerting the whole world that they have attacked Venezuela. Colombian President Gustavo Petro wrote in a series of statements posted on X, because that's where we get our freaking news from now. The Republic of Colombia reiterates its conviction that respect for international law, and the protection of life and human dignity must prevail over any form of armed confrontation, as if the bombs aren't armed confrontation. What's happening is the U.S. is flexing its muscle, and the people like the UK who bend down and allow it to happen will allow the next steps in Cuba and Greenland. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. We heard from the Cuban president. They called it a terrorist attack. Chile says we call for seeking a peaceful solution to the serious crisis affecting the country. Really? That's because America's a bully. has given them no choice but to say these things. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? With great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man's uncle, Uncle Ben, would be turning over in his grave because what we've done with our power is turn completely sovereign and what do you call that? Sovereign countries and countries with pride into this because they too don't want to be next. Chile reaffirms its commitment to basic principles of international law, such as the prohibition of the use of force, non-intervention, the peaceful settlement of international disputes, and the territorial integrity of states. The Venezuelan crisis must be resolved through dialogue and the support of militarism and not through violence or foreign multilateralism. Tired, not feeling so good. Sorry, through dialogue and the support of multilateralism and not through violence or foreign interference. Mexico, in a statement on X, once again, President Claudia Sheinbaum says Mexico condemns the military intervention in Venezuela. She also included in her post an article in the UN Charter, which states the members of the organization in their international relations shall refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. That's why this is illegal. It's illegal on the U.S. in front because our Constitution says you have to get Congress to declare war. You can't do it as a president unilaterally. It's illegal on the world stage because the UN Charter says we can't do this. And we're still members as far as I know. And the UK says they need to know what Trump thinks about it. Brazil, attacking countries in flagrant violation of international law is the first step toward a world of violence, chaos, and instability, where the law of the strongest prevails over multilateralism. Bolivia, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago. They said they are not a participant. Ecuador, condemning it, calling them criminals. Uruguay, condemning this. They reject, as it always has, military intervention by one country in the territory of another.
Sentirse asustados como todo amaneció el venezolano como tal el día de hoy y en la madrugada que muchas familias no pudieron dormir como tal. La experiencia, yo pienso.
I'm not sure that we need that, but I want to hear from the faces of the people who are there.
Todo ha estado trancado, todo ha estado muy
mal.
Si se lo llevaron, opino que no debería haber sido así, pues, ¿verdad? Porque, como se dice, va a crear un conflicto peor, pues, peor que lo que está ahorita.
Hoy es el día, hoy llegó el día y es el día de la libertad.
The day has come for the day of freedom, the day that Venezuelans like
tanto los venezolanos como yo, como todas estas personas que están acá, como todas las personas alrededor del mundo estábamos esperando. Hoy se está haciendo justicia.
So let's understand that there are people there, like I said, Maduro is not an angel. I believe he stole the presidency. I believe that there's been enough evidence shown to me and not enough for the reverse, that he doesn't belong in there. The difference is their sovereign country, and it's not our job. But just like you heard there will be other factions. There are going to be people who think it's all right. More than likely, they're the ones who won't get hurt because they also have a lot of money. That's just how it usually goes. I don't know for sure. Anyway, let me finish this up. Argentina. That's why I say that today's new Argentina says the president Javier Milei said in a media interview following the U.S. attack on Venezuela is the collapse of the regime of a dictator that was rigging elections, that in the last election was badly defeated. And despite that, he clinged on to power. That's why I'd say that today's news is excellent news for the free world. I want you also to remember that Argentina is where CCOT is. Maybe there's a repeating pattern here. Argentina is where the CCOT is, and human rights don't exist in CCOT. Argentina is where we were sending illegal aliens, supposedly, right, undocumented persons, as well as citizens, by rounding them up off the street and not giving them due process and sending them to CCOT without a court date. So I'm not surprised that Argentina thinks that this is just fine. Panama. My government reiterates its support for the democratic process and for respecting the legitimate wishes of the Venezuelan people expressed decisively at the ballot box, where Mr. Edmundo Gonzalez was elected. Panama will always stand in solidarity with the peace and with the orderly and legitimate transition process. I don't know what that means. It's the most feckless bullshit I've ever heard. Thanks, Panama, for nothing, for not taking a side, but fine. At least you didn't say, God bless Trump. China. China's foreign ministry said Beijing was deeply shocked and strongly condemns the use of force by the U.S. against a sovereign country and the use of force against the president of a country. And it's funny that the Chinese government has now taken the high ground over the United Kingdom. That should shame you. You should feel ashamed, because they can't wait to do the same thing to Taiwan now that it's okay for everybody to do it. Iran statement: we won't give in to them. With reliance on God and confidence in the people's support, we'll bring the enemy to its knees. Classic Iran talk, but at least they're against it. Russia, we affirm our solid. Shut up. I'm not going to read you what Russia says. It's all lies. It's all lies. Russia was the one who got us to do this so that Venezuela can buy more stuff from them, because they get all of their war equipment from them and weapons from them. They're the number one customer of Russia, and the only way that they can get money at the moment is from them. Secondly, they also want those minerals in that oil, and they also want the other guy in charge. So they can talk all they want because they have a puppet in America that can do the action for them while they talk and say that they don't want it. Don't believe them. And lastly, the United Kingdom, the embarrassment of the world with their response and silence and appeasement of yet another dictator on the path to another world war. I pray that history doesn't happen again like it did last time. And I pray that we've learned the lessons from the last time. Even though it's my country that's now the new Germany. Stop it. Don't let them get away with it. The rest of the world stands with us. Everybody except Argentina and the other countries who are there in the crosshairs, who are too scared to say anything. That is the report from around the world. Good night. Thank you for joining. As I get more information, I'll give it to you. The time to fight is now.